When approached by Julieann Wallace with this crazy idea that came to her in the wee hours of the morning, I could never have imagined the magnitude of the emotional journey we were about to partake in. Letters, poems, and artwork flooded in. People diagnosed with Meniere's gave us glimpses into the darkest part of their lives, exposing delicate parts of their souls. Today, instead of a guest interview, I wanted to share a few letters that are included in this gorgeous book. If you typically listen to the podcast while driving, please listen another time, as these letters to Meniere's will tug at your heart. This episode has 5 letters to Meniere's disease, each one different, real, raw, and heartfelt. If you are triggered easily, please think twice before listening. These letters have raw emotion. Many of the authors have expressed how cathartic this was for them. As I immersed myself into each letter, poem, and piece of artwork, I felt every word, every brushstroke, as if they were my own. Are you ready for the first letter? To my Meniere's disease. You are not my Meniere's disease. When invited to write a letter to you, I immediately resisted, because who are you to deserve my words? You have been with me for 3 decades. Why give you more of me, I thought. You who startled me out of a deep slumber with vertigo and vomiting and diarrhea at the innocent and pure age of 21. You who invaded me when my life was about to begin. I was terrified when the doctors said I had you. You became my body snatcher. I cursed you, I fought you, I would not let you take all of me. Follow doctor's orders? No way. Those orders were not working, so why bother anyway? I was fiercely stubborn, and my own will, or willfulness, would figure out how to silence you. I would not allow you to enslave me. I promised myself that you would not rob me of a life of joy. You would not take me down. My rage would fuel me. After the first decade and a half, the vertigo attacks diminished, but you did not leave me completely. I continued to experience earfulness, head-popping pressure, hearing loss, dizzy spells, brain fog, tinnitus, crackling sounds, and more. You stuck around. As I aged, I continued to ignore you. I became employed and furthered my career. I played and socialized with my 20-something peers. I pretended you were not there, creeping behind me, waiting to strike whenever it served you. I was busy trying to make a beautiful life, but I was never comfortable. I was often symptomatic, though I showed no outward signs. I was busy trying to live the life I promised myself, but you affected my emotional and mental health regardless of these efforts. I would fight for my life despite you. I held on to my dear friends, met my soulmate, and got married. We had 3 amazing sons. Meniere's, you were no part of that. Although I created a life of joy, the life I planned for, my techniques to fight you were no longer working. You wore on my emotional and mental health. I masked your sounds with fans and white noise machines. I self-medicated with alcohol to numb you. I numbed the symptoms that plagued my body. I numbed the emotional toll you inflicted upon me. Over time, alcohol and sleep were my only reprieve. I realized the energy I used to fight you were wearing on me. I was losing steam, and you were now winning. My way of coping, alcoholic drinking, was slowly killing me. I asked God to take me from this earth because living with you was unbearable. After you spent 2 decades of my life inside of me, I hit a crossroads in my life. I had nothing left in me. I was depleted of all my energy to live. Fighting you, denying your existence, and drinking to cope with the horrid symptoms were no longer serving me. I had to make a change. All the fight, all the anger, all the resentment I had about you turned to a place of surrender. I had to surrender to learn how to live with you. I had to stop trying to win. I needed to learn how to live with your presence. For 11 years, I have been living a beautiful life even though you were still with me. That fight instinct towards you became a peaceful resiliency. Instead of ignoring you, I chose to understand you. By doing so, I know when you may arrive. I do not deny your existence any longer. I am honest with my loved ones when symptoms flare up. My honesty helps them help me. I now choose to take care of myself so that you do not show up as often or as powerfully. Slower living, calming activities like yoga, meditation, Prayer and muscle strengthening exercises have become a new way of living. Also, I finally met with an audiologist for hearing aids. Caring for myself this way improved my quality of life. My joy became true, authentic joy, not joy to mask resentment for you. I am 50 now. I hope there's a cure in my lifetime. I am grateful that I am happy while living this new life, this new design for living with a chronic illness. You almost took all of me, Meniere's, but love and joy are so much more powerful than my anger towards you. If you taught me anything, you taught me that I am resilient. Despite your continued existence, I found acceptance in my surrendering to you. I forgive you, and I am grateful I got a second chance to live more comfortably with you. This is how I won. Love, Sarah. Meniere's for 30 years. She runs a podcast called Sober Gratitudes, and I will leave her information below. Meniere's. I see them. People suffering like me. Nobody deserves this. This manic, violent, debilitating, depressing, disgusting, deplorable, despicable, devastating, damaging, distressing, diabolical monster of a disease that makes you vulnerable and defenseless. It takes everything and never gives back. It takes everything. My life is nothing now. I can't work. I can't drive. I can't walk without losing my balance. I can't socialize. I can't hear. I can't eat what I want. I can't ride my bicycle. I can't play sport. Music is distorted. My independence has been stripped away. Every moment is lived in fear of a vertigo attack, even while I sleep. I will never hear silence or peace and quiet again. With the 5 impossibly loud sounds of tinnitus incessantly torturing me, Meniere's has taken everything from me. Everything except family. I live for the moment when we can dissolve it with a cure. Fleur. This is from the novel The Color of Broken with a Meniere's main character by Amelia Grace, shortlisted twice to be made into a movie, #1 on Amazon numerous times. Dear Meniere's, I learned as a young girl, in all fairy tales there are heroes and villains. Despite the strength and evil acts of the villains, the heroes always prevail. You, Meniere's, are no different than the villains in these tales. You think you've stolen my life from me, when in fact you have opened my world like never before. The tinnitus you sent down to drown out my true north now fuels my intuition. The head and ear pressure you bring on reminds me I'm still here to make the most of my days. The floor-hugging vertigo reminds me to love Mother Earth as she cushions my fall. The hearing loss encourages me to treasure the sweet sounds in my life. The fluctuating sounds of my world nudge me to be more present. The unsteady walk you have given me has me cautious of the path I am walking. I will keep fighting for my happy ending, Meniere's, all while knowing I am the hero in my own story. Heather Davies. Dear Meniere's, in 2020, I'd been suffering this cruel disease, which I called the monster, for 8 years. I'd given up hope, almost lost my family, and lost most of my friends, not to mention my health and sanity. My future was a black hole. Somehow, I decided to fight back. I made a rash decision to ride an e-bike from Denver, Colorado to Columbus, Ohio. With help from my brothers Dave and Brian, we completed the 1,400-mile journey. 1,400 miles. I had no idea what to expect. I'm not an avid cyclist, yet I wanted to bring awareness to our plight. I learned the value of family, friendships, and in the end to love myself no matter what life handed me. This is an excerpt from my adventure. On the vertigo, one sick man's journey to make a difference. Never stop fighting, never give up. You are not alone. Peace out. I have to talk myself into moving at all, really, because this is an anxiety like no other. You have to understand, I'd rather die than sit up. Sitting up will cause the world to spin more violently than it already is. And if it changes direction, I will definitely start vomiting. Just the thought is paralyzing and scary. I always cry at this point. I'm terrified to move. I explained to Dave my plan to get into the camper through tears of humiliation. Dave and Brian will have to reach under my arms, support me into the camper and to the cushioned bench. After a couple minutes of inner argument, I force myself upright. I fall headfirst into the back of the camper and rest my head on the cool bumper. Step 1 completed. I wait for myself to steady a bit. The feeling of time is slipping away. How long have I been in this position? Minutes? An hour? I fantasize about running to Brian's truck and backing over myself to make this all stop. Emmett records Dave and Brian struggling to pour me into the camper, and it ends up being the most watched video of the trip to that point. I'm not talking viral numbers such as a cat playing the piano or some shit, but it was viewed over 10,000 times around the world on social media sites. That may sound awesome to most people, but I was ashamed and embarrassed. Losing all your cognitive abilities is not something to be proud of. It's also something most people have never seen. It was scary to watch, and many Meniere sufferers said they had to turn it off. Others said they cried through the whole episode. These people knew exactly what I was feeling, and it's beyond heartbreaking to watch. I finally get inside the camper and flop onto the padded bench. Dave and I make a couple of videos explaining my situation, and after that I surrender. I put my cold snap towel over my face and let vertigo carry me away. You may think I'm being a bit overdramatic, but let me tell you, I'm not. I'm not even coming close to explaining what this actually feels like. There are no words. A vertigo attack is intangible. It has no timeline. It's just pure suffering that can't be explained with words. How can you describe the indescribable? I'm trying my best to do it here anyway. There are thousands of people experiencing vertigo attacks around the world as I write this, and my heart goes out to each and every one of them. If there's any good that could come from my humiliation and pain, it'd be to let other Meniere sufferers know this, and to feel it deep in their bones. You are not alone. There are others of us out here, and we are with you. You are not alone. Bite me, Menieres. Stephen Schweer. On Instagram, you can follow him on The Vertigo. Pick up his book, also on The Vertigo, and his website is also on The Vertigo. I'll leave all that in the show notes as well. And the last one I'm going to share with you. Dear Meniere's disease, I'll never forget the day we first met. I was harmlessly conjugating verbs in my high school Spanish class when you decided to send the room spinning. After a vomit session in the freshman hall and an embarrassing wheelchair trip out the building during passing period, I was off to the ENT for the diagnosis. Texts from my friends flooded in the following days. What happened, Pat? I heard you got in a fight and got thrown down a flight of stairs. I saw you in a wheelchair. Are you okay? Were you hammered in Spanish class? That's awesome. I wish that was the case. It's just some shitty condition called Meniere's that's usually reserved for people my parents' age and requires me to go on a low-salt diet, manage stress, take water pills, and stop drinking booze and caffeine. Don't think it satisfied that teenage gossip ich. Despite ongoing symptoms and a plethora of depressing online articles about what our forced partnership could look like in the future, I tolerated your shit pretty well for the first 10 years. In fact, I pretty much denied the fact that you were even there. But payback is a bitch, and just as I was settling into the life of my supposed dreams, steady job, beautiful wife, epic Colorado weekends, you set me right back on my ass. The daily assault of symptoms turned a once ambitious and adventurous dude into an anxious recluse by age 31. In short, you seriously fucked my shit up. Over time, however, I've come to realize that it wasn't the evil Menieres that led to my downfall. Nope. You just fueled my deepest hidden insecurities until they consumed me. It's rare in life that many of us have the opportunity to take a step back and ask the question, could this be better? Before you dropped the hammer, I was living life by the book, doing everything I was supposed to do. I was living a life of fear, and I was certainly not living for myself. In fact, I was beating the crap out of myself to live for everybody else. Somewhere along the line, I changed from an enthusiastic, carefree kid to a perfectionist, people-pleasing workbot who preferred late hours over friends, family, and health. I ignored the results of this self-directed stress for years. So you called me on my shit and served it up on a steamy platter. The lessons you've taught me are invaluable. Mental health equals physical health, and self-compassion is the foundation of true strength and resiliency, not weakness. You continue to remind me of these lessons every day as I move forward in a new life of my design. Sincerely, Patrick. 17 years with MD and counting. I realized this was a heavy episode, and I took a risk sharing. I haven't been able to put this book down since I received it. Knowing that every author and artist in this book understands different levels of where I have been, where you have been, and where many other vestibular warriors have been. It's incredibly sad, but it is also empowering knowing that I'm not alone. We are not alone. There are others out there like us that understand the magnitude of our despair and our drive for life, and that we really can do hard things. Look at us. We have this amazing community, and these letters are just a tiny example of the soul work poured into this book. Dear Meniere's Letters and Art Collection, this global Meniere's project by people living with Meniere's disease. This book is available for pre-order right now and will be released June 1st. All proceeds will be going for Meniere's research. If you would like to write your own letter to Meniere's disease, to vertigo, tinnitus, or whatever's on your mind, there is a beautiful space for you to do so on page 174. So write your own letter. Keep it for yourself, or feel free to share it with us. We would love to read it. Please feel free to send it via email or any other way located in the show notes, or even tag us on social media. We would love to hear from you. Please see the show notes on ways to order the book, ways to contact us, or I would love it if you'd leave a voice message on what you thought of the letters. I'll be sharing these voice messages in future episodes. Thank you for being here and listening to the Meniere's Muse podcast. Remember to love yourself, be open to the work, lean on this beautiful community, and lastly, believe that healing is possible.